All right, this is what we're here to see. In this part of the museum, we are going to find objects from the time of the Vikings. Now, let's see what you remember from class. Who were the Vikings? Anybody? Jason.
They were ancient people from Northern Europe, Mrs. Watson. They came from Denmark, Norway, and Sweden.
Very good, Jason. Yes, they did. And when did they live? Maria?
Hundreds of years ago? Around the 10th century, I think.
Well done, Maria. The Vikings were an important people for a few hundred years, and their culture was especially strong in the 9th and 10th centuries. Now, class, what do you know about the history of the Vikings? Ahmad.
They had an interesting religion with all kinds of different gods.
That's right, and I'm going to ask you to search for information about that on the internet as your homework assignment. For example, did you know that many of our names for the days of the week come from the names of Viking gods? Okay, now, as we look around this part of the museum, you'll see beautiful objects made of different kinds of metal. The Vikings were great metal workers. There are things for rich people made out of fine metals like gold and silver, sometimes with expensive jewels. And then there are everyday objects made of ordinary metals, like iron.
Did the Vikings ever come to North America, Mrs. Watson?
Yes, they did, Ahmed. They were great explorers, and they built very strong ships out of wood. It's amazing to think that they crossed the Atlantic Ocean. But yes, scientists found a Viking site in Newfoundland, Canada. Now they think there may be a second site on the other side of the island.
When did they find the Viking sites in Canada, Mrs. Watson?
They discovered the first one in 1960 on the north coast of Newfoundland. But they didn't find any other sites, so the Vikings' visit to North America remained a bit of a mystery. But modern technology is beginning to change that. In 2015, an archaeologist found a new site hundreds of miles to the south.
How was modern technology used, Mrs. Watson?
Well, you know that an archaeologist is a person who studies ancient sites and cultures. But a space archaeologist is someone who uses information and photos from satellites in space to search for ancient sites.
Why did the archaeologist think it was a Viking site, Mrs. Watson? Did the photos help?
The photos showed that people lived there once. Then, a team went to the site and learned that people made iron there. The local people did not make iron at that time. The Vikings did.
And why did the Vikings choose that place?
First, because the beach was a good place to arrive in their ships. There weren't many rocks under the water. Second, they had a very good view from the site. They could see in every direction. That was important because the Vikings always needed to protect themselves. After that, they discovered that it was a good place for them to stay because the land was good for farming. Also, there were animals to hunt for food. And very importantly for Vikings, they could find the materials they needed to make iron for their ships and daily lives. Now, let's take a look at